What's up, people of YouTube? This is Will here, bringing you guys another video to the channel, and today we are going to be unboxing a new controller, the ASTRO C40 controller to be specific, here on the channel. So I'm going to get into the unboxing first, but I do want it to be known that I didn't want to have to buy this controller, and I'll get into all of that later in the video, but I'm not necessarily happy that I'm buying the controller. Although I'm happy to have the controller because I want to have a functioning controller, I'm not happy that I was in the position I was to have to purchase a new controller. And like I said, I'll get into all of that here in a bit. But let's go ahead and let's jump into this unboxing. I use an ASTRO headset, and I really like the ASTRO headset, so I figured the build quality of this controller would probably be pretty nice as well. So, and I can already tell just from the box alone that it feels very, very well designed. Now, granted, Astro's boxes are always super nice. I haven't had an Astro box in years, but anytime that I've gotten an Astro box in the past, it's always been super, super nice. So I'm not surprised by that in the slightest. I'm really just interested to see how the controller is going to feel ergonomically in my hands. Is it going to be comfortable? Am I going to go through a period of time where I'm having to get used to it all over again like I did with the Scuf Vantage, the format of it? So yeah, here's the design, the box itself. It looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and let's open this. Yeah, very, very clean packaging. Very clean packaging. So I'm assuming this is what actually holds the controller. Nice action. It comes with a case. You don't have to pay extra for the case. It's just part of the setup, which is nice. We've got some warning labels. Gotta put that back on. Let's see. ASTRO C40 controller. You've got like the little handbook thing, the instructions and all that. The goodies are going to be inside of this right here. So, very excited. Let's go ahead. Let's pop this open. See what we have. Ooh, man, again, the packaging, so nice. Here is, oh, that feels good. That feels really good. So those worries are pretty much already gone. Here is the controller. So here is the controller, tournament ready, C40. Looks very nice. It feels very good in your hands, honestly. The paddles might take some time to get used to, but it does feel nice. The grip feels good. It feels, I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't feel like plastic. I don't know how to explain the way that it feels. It doesn't feel like plastic. It doesn't feel rubbery really either. It's weird. Like this part feels like rubber, but this part feels, I don't know, like the smoothest plastic I've ever felt, I guess. It feels really good. I'm really happy with that. The overall build quality of that. That's very nice. I like the way the triggers feel. These do feel very, very taut. They don't feel loose and just annoying. Touchpad feels nice. I don't know how I feel about the D-pad. It's a little bit shallow, but we'll see how that goes when we use it more. Paddles feel okay. Again, something I'm probably gonna have to get used to. Although I will say that I have more room that I can push here to do the things that I need to do. I don't have to worry about pushing one specific thing. I didn't really have an issue with misclicking on the Scuf, but I'm just saying this does have more of a more area to cover, per se, when you're hitting the button. Ooh, okay, so we have this rubber thing that I think is just built in. It is. So we have this rubber thing inside the case that's just kind of built in there. And it has thumbsticks, as well as, how do you even get those out? What? Oh, they pop right out. That's interesting. Huh. Okay. Alright, I see you, Astro. I see you. Huh. I can get down with that. This is what you use to turn it into a Bluetooth device. So you don't have to have a wire in at all times, which that's nice. I'll be able to charge it when I want to if I do want to play wirelessly, and I don't have to worry about, which I'll talk about the issues with the charging ports but in a minute, but I don't have to worry about the charging port going out in it as frequently, at least. This is the little changing device, I'm assuming, to like move around your your faceplate and mess around with that a bit. So that's very high quality and seamless. So overall, very impressed with both of those. Now, because I'm playing Call of Duty 95% of the time, I'm going to be using the corded version of the controller most, just because it's going to play better. But I know that a lot of people out there don't really care about that, you know, the lag that you get from the controller to the console, but that's something I care about. And of course, this ASTRO cable is very high quality, just like all of their products are. It feels real nice. Oh, that's so satisfying to remove. And that looks like that is pretty much everything for the ASTRO C40 controller. Now I will do probably a review video down the line. I know this controller's been out for a while, so it's not like a huge, it's not like it's brand new, but it's new to me, and that's what matters. It's overall very sleek, and I'm gonna like this. I can already tell I'm gonna definitely enjoy this. Now, let's talk about the reason why I didn't want to have to buy this controller. So back in March, I purchased this controller right here. This is the Scuf Vantage, the very first Scuf Vantage. This was about 6 months after their first initial wave of Scuf controllers. And man, I really don't want to have to make this video. I don't want to have to say the things that I'm about to say, but this controller is just bad. Like, the Scuf Vantage is just a bad controller, and it hurts me to say that because I've been a loyal Scuf fan for years, since about 2013, 2012, somewhere in there. I bought my very first Scuf controller, and I've been buying a new Scuf controller. I've bought, I think, a total of 4 Scuf controllers, maybe 5, and this is by far the worst Scuf controller that I have ever owned. This is the most regrettable $250 purchase that I've ever made, ever. So a lot of people have issues with the paddles. I never ran into problems with the paddles. I did run into lots of issues with this D-pad. D-pad does not work properly. It will push buttons that I'm not actually pushing. The magnets fall apart to where it doesn't push properly at all. They get lodged inside the controller. You guys can't really see it, but the magnets get lodged inside the controller, and then you can never get them out. The faceplate itself sometimes is super wonky and pops off when I'm playing. Like, if I'll move my controller a certain way and it'll shift. The rumble packs here, I never had any issues with, so I can't complain about that. Never had problems with the rumbles. I did have a considerable amount of issues with the joysticks. There was some drift in there for a while. So let's just go back to when I first purchased the controller. I bought this controller in March of last year, and straight out the box, I had issues with it randomly turning off when I was playing, where I would lose control of my character and I would just do whatever it wanted to do. Tons and tons of issues right out the box. So I was going to return it. After doing some research and speaking with my local GameStop, which is where I bought it, I kind of came to the conclusion that it would be pointless to return it, because if I did so, I was going to get another controller that was already having the same issues, or inevitably was going to have the same issues. So right away I realized I'd probably done messed up, that I was not going to enjoy this. Like, I made a bad decision to buy this controller. Then let's get into the stuff that really infuriated me. So the sensitivity of the Bluetooth connection, wireless connection on this controller is incredibly bad. So obnoxiously bad. Like, there is probably 15 milliseconds, which this is a 5 millisecond on wireless, which is probably what this should be. And it is mind-blowing. Like, I don't want to use a 5 millisecond wireless connection for a multiplayer game, let alone 15. And I would use the Scuf thing on my computer to recalibrate the controller, and it might fix it for a week, a few days, and then it would go back to the way it was before. So you might ask me, well, why were you using wireless mode if you prefer using the wired portion of the controller? And that's because the wired portion, this little port right here, and this is an issue with all micro USB cables, so it's not specifically the fault of Scuf, but this micro USB port right here, it just dies out on me. Like, completely stops working properly. Run into all sorts of problems with that, to where I can't get it to charge. If I'm playing in wired mode, then it randomly turns off. It's so frustrating. I bought multiple cords, everything that I could possibly do, and it just would not work properly. Now let's start with the fact that I couldn't turn my PS4 on from my controller, which was a known issue with this controller. I would have to turn the PS4 on, sync up the controller, wait for it to connect, and then I could play it. It was a little thing, but it was annoying. It was something I shouldn't have to deal with in a $250 controller. Now let's talk about the trigger stops. The trigger stops on this controller are horrendous. So in previous years, you could adjust the triggers to where they were super, super small and you could just barely push it to shoot. And that's what I wanted this controller to do. Turns out, can't do that anymore. It's one distance, but you can turn this little knob down here to give you the trigger stop, which is still a decent ways away from the actual base. It's still considerably far. But this little trigger would mid-match, this little trigger stop would turn. So then it like blocks you from pushing in at all, or it would completely turn all the way around. And then, boom, now you have an issue where you have to push the trigger all the way down, which completely defeats the purpose of a trigger stop. Very annoying, because one of the main reasons I like the Scuf controllers was for the trigger stops. So without the trigger stops, I really wasn't interested, and it was irritating. So the one thing that they did right with this Scuf controller was, one, the grip was very nice, and two, the paddles performed very well. So I will give them a positive on that one, but in almost every other aspect of the controller, it was absolutely horrendous. It was a miserable experience, not fun. These little side buttons right here, worthless. Absolutely useless. I thought maybe I would use them for something. No, they get in the way. I programmed them to do something that never pops up on my screen, so I didn't have to deal with it. So overall, $250 Scuf controller in comparison to the $200 ASTRO C40 controller. Obviously, I haven't used this yet. I'll give you guys a full review on this controller later, but out the box, there are things that I've noticed about this controller that are considerably higher quality and a better build than the Scuf controller. And again, like I said, I really didn't want to have to make this video. I didn't want to have to make this purchase, but I feel like it had to be said. It's like being best friends with somebody and knowing that they did something wrong and talking shit behind their back. It's like, man, I've got to get this off my chest, but I still appreciate them, you know, like, because of the issues that I had with the Scuf Vantage, I did not want to purchase the Scuf Vantage 2. Even though the Scuf Vantage 2 was less expensive than the ASTRO C40, I did not want to touch the Scuf Vantage 2 because of all of the issues I had with this controller. Now, next-gen consoles, I will be more than happy to, you know, give Scuf a round 2, give them a shot again at some point, because that's another reason why I didn't want to have to buy this controller. We're getting new consoles in about a year, and I really wanted this controller to just ride out till then, and it just wasn't going to happen. I was dying multiple times a game in Call of Duty, so in a 6-minute match of Call of Duty, I was having to turn my controller back on 2 or 3 times per match, and it's just really frustrating. But I know that I won't be able to use this controller next year, more than likely, so it was a $200 purchase that I'm only going to get about a year of use out of. So yeah, next generation of console, I will definitely give Scuf another chance at their controller to see if I like it, but for the time being, I have moved over to their competition, ASTRO, for their controller, and I want to say that I'm sorry, but I'm really not. You guys dropped the ball on the Scuf Vantage, and that's just the way that it is. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. If you did, please hit the like button, please subscribe for more content, and deuces.